Good morning, welcome back to Football League World TV. It's time for another fan debate, and here we're talking Barnsley and their January transfer window so far. I'm your host, George Dagless, and joining me this morning is Andy Symcox from Red All Over. Andy, how are you getting on?
Well, personally, I'm all right. Yeah. I'm not sure about my club, but I'm doing all right. Yeah. Well, I've been worse. Put it that way. I've been worse.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. We'll see what we can do in the next 20 minutes. It has been a fairly quiet window, I think it's fair to say, for Barnsley so far. We will get into that. Just before we do kick off with the show, Barnsley fans, do get in touch with us. We're across Facebook, Twitter and YouTube for the next 20 or so minutes. Let us know what you've made of the market so far. Where would you like to see your club add in the last couple of weeks? Certainly probably fair to say that a few signings are needed, but we'll see what we can talk about in the next 20 or so minutes. Let's get straight into it. Andy, when we put the tweets out earlier this morning on our Football League World TV Twitter handle, saying that we were going to be looking at Barnsley's transfer window, we had a few comments coming in suggesting that this show might be quite a short one, given that it's been quite a quiet market so far for the Tykes. Let's just talk sort of in a general sense first of all. What have you made of what's happened so far? What hasn't happened, I guess, is a better way to term it so far in this window.
Well, so far, I mean, it's whatever it is. It's the 18th. Yeah, 18th of January. It's been incredible. Well, it's been more than a bit quiet as far as incoming's concerned. There's not been much going out either, but incoming's, it's been incredibly quiet. And truthfully, from my, I can only represent my own views. I'm not going to represent, I'll be able to say what I've heard other people say, but my own views is what I'll talk about particularly. For me, it's been so far incredibly disappointing. We were technically bottom of the league until Derby then overtook us anyway. So we're actually bottom of the league. And truthfully, the performances throughout the season so far have been not even close to being good enough, and we're where we deserve to be at the minute. So either we accept it and we just plod along as it is, in which case we'll get relegated, or we make some changes and bring some people in that will make a difference. And that's what we need to do. The real frustrating thing for me is I could list you about 7 players that I believe are definitely championship quality, and maybe another one or another 2, but certainly another one that will be. But it's not good enough. We play for 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, and we're all right. Then we do something stupid, give a goal away, look poor. And then there doesn't seem to be that Yorkshire grit in trying to grind things out and to get back on a keel and not throw things away. We're in a position where we're making mistakes in defence. We definitely need an organiser in defence, somebody that's more vocal. 2 years ago, when we were in a similar position, truthfully, we brought in Michael Solbauer, who was an experienced defender, and he made, I think he was instrumental in us staying up, to be honest. And of course, Michael went in the summer because he wanted to go back home, and with our best wishes, including my best wishes. So, but we haven't replaced that sort of experience. It's not just about age, but that experience and that know-how and that organisational ability at the back. Similarly, in midfield, we lost Alex Mowat, our captain, to West Brom, along most of the manager and most of the backroom staff all went to West Brom. So we weren't doing that badly last year. If West Brom wanted to take all our staff to their club. But we haven't replaced him. We've looked, for me personally, we brought a few midfield players in that may well make the grade, but they're all young lads. And for me, we haven't got that proper organiser and one that will pull people up by the bootstraps and get them going and get them tackling and force them into doing things on the pitch, rather than being a bit more lackadaisical. And of course, up front, so we're not creating anything. We've got no midfield players that are getting in front, getting beyond the strikers. And of course, this last week we found out that Corley Woodrow's got an injury that has required surgery, and so he's going to be out for quite a while. And so we're lacking up front. We brought a few players in. We brought Larry Secker in, who's flattered to deceive, and not really pulled up any trees. And then the big signing to replace, as we thought it, Daryl DK, we brought in Obiolari, who's played about 18 or 19 minutes as a sub twice this whole season. No, I don't, it were injured, then it were a visa problem, or it were injured. No idea what. But the bottom line is he's not playing. So for me, we need one at the back. And this is a minimum requirement for me personally. One at the back, one in midfield, and one up front.
I mean, it's kind of
and
down.
If we're not getting them, then we're consigned to relegation, and and then the owners will get all the flack that's coming their way.
One player that's been linked, Andy, in terms of the midfield positions at least, is Jay Fulton. He's at Swansea at the moment, hasn't played much this year for the Swans.
No.
Barnsley and Blackpool both been linked to him. Is he, a bit more experienced, a little bit older than, like you say, some of the younger midfielders that Barnsley have got? Is he the sort of player that potentially could come in and help out in the middle of the park, do you think?
I don't, to be honest, George, I don't know that much about him. And I know he played against us for Swansea in the playoff semis, and I think he set up one of the goals. So thanks for that. But I've no idea what's because I've not seen much of him this year. I've watched a few Swansea matches when they've been on the red button. I kept flicking to them and seeing the highlights. But like you said, he's not played much, so I don't really know what he would be able to bring. If he brings the sort of thing that I'm saying, then he'd be very, very welcome and very necessary. Whether he come or not, it's going to be a difficult place to come. Bottom of the league and not playing well might be a challenge to somebody that he or others want to take up. It might be something to think, no, do you know what? If I'm going to go somewhere, I'll go somewhere else where it's not going to be such a struggle. But it to show his character. If he wants to come and is what we need, then for me, he'd be very welcome.
I mean, I guess that's the problem Barnsley have got, or one of them this month is the sell, isn't it? Because given the position that you're in at the moment in the Championship, when you look at the attacking options, well, obviously you mentioned Cody Woodrow's injury there. He's needed surgery. He's hoping maybe to be back by the end of the season, but ultimately that could be too late. You'll be hoping not. With the options you've got, it's probably fair to say another attacker is needed, but the question is, where do you find a striker that's going to want to come in and take that challenge on and score enough goals that are going to fire Barnsley out of the relegation zone? It'd be such a sort of tough, tall order for whoever that would be.
Absolutely is. Absolutely. The frustrating thing that I certainly feel, and I suspect most fans will feel, is that we're at our highest stock in the summer. We just finished fifth. We'd not made the extra step. We didn't get through to the playoff final. But we finished fifth. Now, a team that's finished fifth with young players that can bring players on, then that's an attractive place to go. Fast forward it, wherever it is, 4, 5 months, 6 months, it's turned on its head, and that's why I think, well, certainly why I am so incredibly frustrated that we didn't capitalise properly on our chances in the summer. And we brought some players in, but they've not cut it, because the young players without the experience that virtually every Barnsley fan, I believe, would say we needed. Replacing Mowat, replacing DK, replacing Solbauer, and we just haven't. We've stuck to what we think has been the right thing, which is to bring in young, hungry players. But young, hungry players need people around them to help them develop and bring them on actually on the pitch. It truthfully, George, it didn't help at all that we started the season with, and again, my opinion, with a head coach that was absolutely clueless and had no idea how, even from the sidelines or in training, how to bring players on. And even the players themselves have said that they were more or less left to their own devices. And particularly in the attacking third of the pitch, they make it up as you go along. Very little guidance. If that's the case, and that's what we're led to believe. So that's not helped. That made it destroyed everything that we had last year in one fell swoop. And it's just, the owners have got to some responsibility for bringing that coach in, but Marcus Schopp has got some responsibility for spoiling what was a good team and a good squad. But frustrating, to put it mildly.
Yeah, no, certainly coming across, Andy. Poya Asbaghi is, in charge now. Obviously got, plenty of background in Swedish football. That's where he's done a lot of work. you think there's any chance that maybe he could raid his contact book in Scandinavia, try and find a few gems? You know, it's sometimes a risk, players coming from that part of the world, in terms of how they're going to, you know, perform and adapt in the Championship. But sometimes you can find a gem. Maybe he needs to look through some of the players he used to be working with or come across when he was over there.
Absolutely, and who knows? That's a possibility. It's sort of in recent press conferences alluded to the fact that we'll if we bring any players in, there'll be young players, and I have no problem with young players playing for our club. Far from it. I really do think it's the future. But at this moment in time, I truthfully don't care where they come from. If we had Michael Solbauer, an absolute star for us, absolute star. So wherever they come from, anywhere, this country, abroad, I think it's more, you know, with the Brexit situation, it's been more difficult getting players from abroad at our level, you know, through visas and what have you. So that could you know, doing that in the future could take a while. We need it now, otherwise it's too late. If we don't do it this window, it's too late. So yes, by all means, if they are what we need, as opposed to what we've already got for next season and the season after, if we want to give it a go to stay in the Championship, we've got to do it now. And it's got to be people that can make the difference now, and that can only be experience and quality organisational ability. That's one of the big things for me.
So. One player that left just before the January window, left with mutual consent, was Dominic Freezer. He played a handful of games so far in the Championship this year up to that moment. Were you particularly surprised? What was the sort of feeling about that particular exit amongst Barnsley fans?
I think we knew for a while that Dominic was going to be going. You know, returning home, if you like, to Austria. So that it didn't come as a surprise when the announcement was formally made. It's mixture, really. I like Dominic Freezer, and he always gave his all. He was particularly effective last year when we used the high press, because the guy got some real energy and would really press and put himself about. This season, it was for me personally. Apart from the first few games, it was off the pace. Being asked to do something that's not in his, not his strength, if you like. We started the season with a couple of goals and thought, flipping heck, he's really stepped it up and he's really going for it this season. And then, like many of our players, it dropped off. I can't thank him enough for what he did last season. And much as he's, like I say, he's not had the best season. He didn't have the best season so far up to him leaving this season, but it did so much for this club and gave us his best, our best finish, if you like, for many, many years. So you can only thank him and wish him well for the future. And I hope that his return to his own country is effective for him. I do think it's a shame. It's not one I would have liked to have gone, but I understand why.
One other player that's left is Ben Williams, young defender. He's gone to Cheltenham. Perhaps only saw him sort of in smatterings for Barnsley during his time at the club. What's the thinking, do you think, behind that one? Is it a disappointment around this one, or are you sort of perhaps expecting him to head to a League One side as he has with Cheltenham?
If I'm honest, I expected it. Ben broke through, but there was a lot of people that could play at left back, and Ben wasn't getting much of a chance. And then last year he got a serious injury that basically kept him out for the season, or as near as, damn it. So he's been gaining himself. I thought he might have gone out on loan or something like that. If I'm honest, he's a wholehearted player, strong in the tackle, still got a lot to learn, but appears to be willing to learn. I've also seen, for anybody from Cheltenham that's watching, we've also seen him play briefly in the centre midfield. And he did all right in the central midfield. He's tough tackling and gets into players, and in the nicest possible way, lets other players know that he's there. So he's not a shrinking violet. So I think he'll do really well for Cheltenham, and I'm really chuffed for him, because a lad like Ben deserves to be playing football, and not no player his age and with his ability needs to be watching football. He should be playing, and he clearly wasn't going to be getting a game. Though we played a few right-footed fullbacks at left back instead of Ben so far this season. He's not really being given a chance, and doesn't seem as though he was going to be given a chance. So yeah, he goes certainly with my best wishes and our show's best wishes. One of my colleagues on the Red All Over show, Alan Smith, knows him particularly well, and has always spoken highly of him, both as a footballer, but particularly as a person as well. He's a good lad. So good luck to him, and I wish him well, and I hope he does really, really well for Cheltenham.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he does moving down there. One other good young defender, and I'm probably at pains a little bit to mention it, is given that he's linked with West Brom as so many sort of former Barnsley figures that have moved there already. Liam Kitchen, a really, really good defender, and surely got a bright career ahead of him. But he is linked with West Brom this month. How concerned are you that there's a chance he ends up at the Hawthorns by the end of the window? And if he does go, how big of a setback would it be for your club?
It's a difficult thing to think through, really, because Liam has not had, like so many of them, he's not had his best season, and he's made some really poor mistakes. He made a couple of mistakes against Barrow when we managed to scrape through in the FA Cup, and some people, I've no doubt, some people will be quite happy for him to go because they don't rate him. I can understand that because he's not playing that great, but there's a player there. Whether or not it's what we can't keep making the same mistakes and doing what we're doing. But clearly Liam would be one for the future. So anybody that signs him would have a decent player year in, year out, getting better. Sometimes he looks incredible. A centre back is strong. He puts himself about. When he's at left back, he's foraged forward with the ball and goes forward with purpose. And all clubs need that. But then he makes mistakes. He's a young lad, and they make mistakes. So it's that balance. We can't afford too many young lads, which is what we've got, making mistakes. But we can't afford to be losing them all, because then what we're going to be left with, So it's difficult. If he goes, it'll be with my best wishes, and I hope he has a good career. If he stays, I'll be happy for him to stay as well. I don't want him to go, but if that's what it is, and that's what he wants to do, then fair enough for everybody concerned.
I guess there's a bit of a running theme, isn't there, Andy, that if he had a bit more experience around him, as with a number of those players in that Barnsley team, those mistakes, yes, he may still make some, but he'd probably learn from them more with the experience around him. But also, there's less chance that he'd be making those mistakes as well.
That's absolutely right. I mean, a couple of years ago, we brought in Mads Andersen, who you couldn't stop him making mistakes. A decent defender, not dissimilar in his own way to how Liam is now, but he made mistake after mistake, and people wanted to get shut of him or what have you. And then, like I've said earlier, we brought in Michael Solbauer, who organised him. Then through the COVID, when nobody were able to go and watch him, he came on leaps and bounds, and he is a real quality defender now, Mads Andersen. But it's 2 years later on, and he had somebody to bring him on. I'm not sure that Liam has at the minute. If we get somebody that can bring him on and others on, then things could get a lot better. 2 years ago we did it. We did it. We were in this position 2 years ago, brought in Solbauer, and by the skin of our teeth, we scraped through and stayed up with two injury time goals in the last two matches. Of course, it helped our cause that Wigan was deducted points, and I don't wish that on any team, but it helped us, and you can't escape that. But we did it ourselves, with the infamous last minute, injury time winning goal at Brentford. We basically, the last kick of the match, kept us up. Who knows what's going to happen? I can't see it happening this season, but I couldn't 2 seasons ago either. So who knows? It depends if your glass is half full or half empty, and mine's just halfway there, half full and half empty. I get called an happy clapper sometimes, which is, I don't know I think it's used as a bit of an insult. It's a bit sad, really, for me, because I've spent years perfecting the art of being a miserable old git, and to be called an happy clapper after I think I've perfected my art, that's a bit harsh, I think. But it could happen. Who knows? It could happen. What I will say, George, is if we don't sign some quality players, experienced organisational ability players, this month and very soon, can't wait till the end of the month, but this month, then what happened 2 seasons ago is not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean that kind of brings us to sort of the wrap up of the show then, Andy. I mean, looking ahead, there's just under 2 weeks to go in the market. It's pretty safe to say that Barnsley do need to be a bit more active than they have been so far this month. Judging by what you've had to say in this last 20 minutes or so, the real key is experience and through the middle of the pitch very much is what Barnsley need to be looking to add if they can in the next couple of weeks.
It absolutely is. At the back we've got Mads Anderson and Michael Hellick. They are two quality centre halves, but they need somebody to help them organise it as well. And in the central midfield, we've got we've got Claudio Gomez on loan from Manchester City. He's going to be. He's only a young lad, but he's going to be a real quality player in the future. I think that lad will go far. Got Josh Benson from Burnley, who came with great credentials, but again, he's young. And if you're all young, then you haven't got somebody that can organise you. You're learning. They're still learning their trade, and they need people. Says me at my age, that they need somebody around them. Like I said, they need somebody around them. It will show our owners' intent, and there's a lot of people having a dig at the owners. And to be frank, they deserve it. If it stays as it is, they'll deserve the criticism that they get. It frustrates the life out of me. Because I don't think at the start of the season and even now, it's that big an ask to get what we need. 2 or 3 players is all that we need of the right quality. Like I said, the organisational ability. I think that's all we need. Others might disagree, and it could make a difference. If we don't, then it'll feel, whether it's true or not, as immaterial. It will feel to most people that we've just accepted that we're going to get relegated, and hopefully we can bounce back next season. I think we all, just under half the season to go, 20 odd matches left. It's much too soon to be trying to throw a towel in when just a small amount of investment could make a big difference. I'm sorry if I'm being negative, George, all the time. It's I try not to be, because I think it can be put right. If not for this season, it can be put right with a shrewd signing or two, and that's the frustrating bit, really.
Yeah, no, I think you definitely reflected the Barnsley mood at the moment. Just the frustration at the sort of inactivity there's been so far in the window. But hopefully, we can hope for Barnsley's sake there'll be a busy couple of weeks still to come in the window in terms of incomings. Before we wrap up then, Andy, obviously you're here again on Football League World TV. For those that haven't seen you before, where can they catch yourself and your fellow Barnsley fans on Red All Over? Where's the best place to get you?
If anybody's foolish enough to want to listen to more of my ramblings, they can find us on YouTube. There's a show that I participate in called Red All Over. So it's about Barnsley Football Club, but it's essentially 4 friends, 2 younger ones, 2 older ones, that discuss all things Barnsley and football, but enjoy each other's company. It's sometimes difficult because sometimes it's just on Zoom, sometimes it's in person. So we enjoy the banter. So there's myself and Alan Smith, who's 3 months older than me, and I make that 3 months pay because it's a big 3 months for me. And then there's the host Joe Beardsall, and then Josh Atherton, who's turned the corner from leaving South Yorkshire, has gone to live and work in Manchester, but so he's gone to deepest, darkest Lancashire, to the Satanic Mills area, if you like, and so it's enjoyable, and we try to promote the club in an honest way, and we give our honest opinions, but we try to be balanced and fair to all concerned, and I think it's enjoyable for people, for anybody that wants to watch. It's not all doom and gloom, and there is some good banter between the 4 people and the others. We have a few others that come on, like Jane Ogley, who rants, who's one of the most amusing people I know. Rob Cooper, whose analysis of things is really on point, and a few others. So it's a decent debate with a bit of banter as well thrown in. It's enjoyable. We have a couple of shows a week, and it's usually enjoyable. I think, anyway. I find it enjoyable. So other people, a few other people might. Some might not, but some might. Red all over. It's the future.
Check it out, Barnsley fans. Get on red all over. Andy, it's been a pleasure as always to have you back on Football League or TV. Just let people that know watching what's coming up on the channel later on today. We've got the Peterborough United January transfer window show that's coming up at 12. Marcus Alley's hosting that one. He's joined by posh fan Alex Batt. 2:30. Another version of this, the Coventry City transfer window show. Sam Rourke hosting that one. He's joined by Sky Blues fan Neil Littlewood. And then at 4 p.m. we've got the debate, the top 3 best EFL transfer signings so far, and why Alfie Burns hosting that one. He's joined by Toby Wildin and Billy Mully. Do subscribe as well to Football League or TV on YouTube. That'd be greatly appreciated from all of us here. And do like this video as well if you can. Andy, thanks again for joining me this morning. It's been great to grab your thoughts. Hope the next couple of weeks are a bit more upbeat for Barnsley and get some signings over the line. But from myself and Andy here, it's bye for now.